A key function of integrated coastal area management is to optimize value from ecosystem services of marine and aquatic photoautotrophs. In socio-ecological production ecoscapes, with both monetized and ecological valuation. So what, you may ask, is this guy talking about? Let me explain. We'll start with the big picture. Is the universe anthropocentric, existing to serve mankind? Billions of suns and planets created just for us? Is life on Earth a system of ecosystem services provided for the benefit of our species? For present purposes, let's say that the answer to these questions is yes. So let's discuss our role as stewards of the ecosystems that enable our existence. In particular, let's focus on the crucial services provided by photosynthesis and concentrate on coastal areas where land and water meet in ecosystems beloved by all mankind. Tanah Air Kita, 55,000 kilometers of coastline in Indonesia, the world's greatest archipelagic state. Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is arguably the greatest service provided to humanity. Photosynthesis is the key to life as we know it. Sunlight brings water and CO2 and other nutrients together through pigments in photosynthesizing organisms. Yes, to give life as we know it. For example, seaweeds have lived on Earth for more than 1 billion years, and seaweeds serve us today. But seaweeds are one among several photoautotrophs. Photoautotrophs are organisms that photosynthesize. ESMAP. Marine and aquatic photoautotrophs, MAP, sometimes simply but inaccurately called sea plants, include any organism that photosynthesizes in aqueous habitats. Besides seaweeds, coastal ecoscapes are home to other types of photoautotrophs, including microalgae and photosynthesizing bacteria. Also, mangroves, seagrasses, and nipa palms. And coastal areas may also include wetlands and peat bogs. Collectively, these organisms provide ESMAP, that is, ecosystem services of marine and aquatic photoautotrophs. So how does ESMAP fit into the grand scheme of human coastal area life? Nested conceptual frameworks. ESMAP fits within a nested set of conceptual frameworks, as depicted in this heuristic model. Ecocosm combines the Greek words ecos, meaning home, and cosmos, meaning universe, form, and order. The ecocosm is humanity's total planetary home system. It's the closed-loop, unstable, long-term, living and non-living whole Earth system. For example, we have the sun, which provides sunlight, solar energy, causes solar flares, and drives much of our weather. Then we have the moon, that provides not only moonlight, but also the tides and calendars that regulate our daily and monthly schedules. Finally, we have objects from outer space, such as asteroids and comets, that provide materials and energy from impacts. The ecosphere encompasses both biological and physical components of all ecosystems on Earth. The ecosphere includes the biosphere, geosphere, hydrosphere, and outside of all that, the atmosphere. Among those, the biosphere is the total sum of living organisms, that is the biomass or biota referred to biologists and ecologists. Ecoeconomics is an overarching concept that embraces both legacy economies and distributed ledger or crypto economies. Ecoeconomic costs and benefits are quantified and managed comprehensively with respect to both financial and ecological balances of goods and services. ICAM is Integrated Coastal Area Management. This is a way to improve the quality of life for communities dependent on coastal area resources and to maintain coastal ecosystems. The marine foreshore and nearshore waters are multiple use zones where there is keen competition for tenure privileges. For present purposes, coastal areas include watersheds, wetlands, and estuaries connected to the sea. Production ecoscapes. SEPE are Socio-Ecological Production Ecoscapes. SEPE are eco-economic building blocks of the ecosphere. An ecoscape is the multidimensional landscape of a socio-economic natural complex ecosystem, combining geographical patterns, hydrological processes, biological vitality, anthropological dynamics, and aesthetic contexts. Production ecoscapes are biodiverse, dynamic mosaics of managed socio-ecological systems that produce bundles of ecosystem services for human well-being. In other words, a production ecoscape is where people live and work in the same place. Within coastal SEPE, aquaculture is prominent among integrated socio-economic activities. Now, I'm a seaweed guy, so in this picture you see seaweed rafts in Madura. The FAO Ecosystem Approach to Aquaculture, EAA, is an overarching framework for biosecure integrated production systems. The EAA recognizes that ecosystems provide services that underpin most human activity, and that we need to ensure that we do not threaten the sustained delivery of these services through damage to ecosystem functions. Ecosystem service values. SEPE enterprises link to the ecoeconomy through value chains in market systems, VCMS. Ecosystem services are the direct and indirect contributions of ecosystems to human well-being. Value chains, as the name might suggest, valorize ecosystem services. Valorization may be through financial transactions, or valorization may be through social transactions. There are three types of services provided by MAP, including provisioning services, regulating services, and cultural services. And there are also some disservices. Provisioning values. Here we see some provisioning services provided by ESMAP in areas of nutrition, health, chemicals and fuels, and other items such as building materials. Valorization results from products with tangible value that can be valorized through financial transactions in value chains. In other words, basically you're producing stuff that you can harvest and sell. For people in SEPE communities, MAP provision services turn sunlight and seawater into money. Cash is generated directly from MAP crops such as seaweed. Cash is generated indirectly from MAP in EAA systems, for example. And cash is generated from MAP products in terrestrial systems too. For example, agricultural biostimulants and nutrient products stimulate and feed ecosystem services from terrestrial systems. MAP may even provide building materials, including nipa leaves for roofs and mangrove wood for structure. Values from ecosystem service regulation. Here we see some regulating services of ESMAP. These include nutrition, water quality, and habitats. Nutrition is valorized through utilization of organisms that are sustained by MAP, while habitats are valorized through utilization of organisms sheltered by MAP. Valorization is developing through various accreditation models. In the case of water quality, for example, carbon and nitrogen credits. Valorization is still a work in progress, however. Ecoscape failures occur where common property is involved. This can result if regulating ESMAP valorization is misunderstood or ignored in coastal areas. Unchecked resource exploitation eventually leads to a depletion that harms all parties. Blue carbon initiatives strive to monetize carbon sequestration in coastal areas through credit mechanisms. However, obsession with carbon must not lead to inadequate attention to the myriad of other elements involved in MAP nutrient cycles. It's not just carbon out there, it's these 16 essential elements and others. Photoautotroph nutrient mechanisms are works in progress. Serious scientific research is essential before nutrient credit mechanisms can benefit from ESMAP, SEPE. Cultural values. Cultural values of ESMAP include aesthetic, recreational, and traditional. They're valorized through monetized cultural activities and through intangible cultural value. For example, we have ESMAP underwater seascapes where people dive and just admire the beauty. We have beach venues. These are among the highest value properties in the world. And we have cultural ESMAP, deep traditions. Cultural ESMAP valorization is embedded in activities not necessarily directly related to exploitation at MIP. Caveats. There are disservices from MAP. And these include invasion, eutrophication, toxic blooms, and fouling. Losses, let's call it negative valorization, come through cost of prevention and damage recovery. For example, we have the infamous red tides that occur from time to time. We have eutrophic algae blooms that can choke up waterways as seen in this picture in South China. And we have algae fouling beaches and equipment such as boats. A lot of these are anthropogenic disservices. A lot of MAP disservices are aggravated by humanity and are costly or impossible to remedy. So here are my SMAP in ICAM conclusions. And the first one goes right back to my introductory remarks, namely that a key function of ICAM is to optimize ESMAP value in SEPE for both monetized and ecological valorization. The second conclusion is that balanced ESMAP valorization should be a key goal of Green Regional Development Programs, GRDP. For example, there are 6 Indonesian projects funded at almost $300 million by the Green Climate Fund Indonesia. GCF invests across built environment, energy and industry, human security, livelihoods and well-being, and land use, forests and ecosystems. Let's make sure that ICAM gets a place at the table. My third conclusion is that SEPE community enterprises should be at the core of ESMAP valorization during ICAM development. All too often, top-down approaches are applied to coastal area management. These tend to fail because what is really crucial is involvement by the people who live and work along coastal areas. My fourth conclusion is that ecosystem interventions require a systems approach. This may sound pretty obvious, but I have noticed that systems approaches are often ignored in favor of really simplistic approaches. Often naive donor funding supports simplistic, overhyped solutions that lead to dire, unanticipated consequences. Tinkering with one thing in all of these complex systems leads to interactions with many other things. There are many nodes, many links, interacting in ways that are not always obvious. My fifth conclusion is that tangible compensation must compensate for intangible compensation until true eco-economics become the societal norm. For example, if you're planting mangroves and waiting for them to provide their intangible benefits, you can also, for example, plant seaweeds near the mangroves and sell them for cash. Coastal people cannot be expected to wait in poverty while plants grow for the benefit of the rest of mankind.
We still have much work to do before eco-economy valorization truly reflects the benefits bestowed on humanity by photosynthetic ecosystem services. I hope that this presentation plays a role in bringing ESMAP to the attention of coastal area planners and people who live and work in coastal ecoscapes. Thanks for watching.